Right, the first thing we need to do is set up the screen so it does what we want to do as efficiently as possible. The screen is divided up into these ribbon bars by function, and also a quick access toolbar. Now it's important that we get the correct icons in this quick access toolbar, because that's going to be the main thing for us to use when we're building our projects. We don't want to be searching through these ribbons if we can possibly avoid it. And so what we need to do is set the thing up so that it's as good as it can possibly be for us. You'll notice that when we right click in the ribbon area, we get the show quick access toolbar above or below the ribbon. If we go above the ribbon, you'll see you only get about half a dozen icons, which is no good. So you want the quick access toolbar to be below the ribbon, and that way you get this long line. And we also need the icons to be the correct ones for what we want. So we need to set up the global template to give us the correct icons in here. To do that, we need to make sure that we haven't got a project open at the moment or a template. So we go to the File menu and say Close, and that will then close that particular template. We then need to set up the options. So in Options, there's these various things. In the General tab, make sure your default view is Gantt chart and that your date format is like so. The other things, the display, like so. The schedule, like so. Saving, autosave, I find 20 minutes to be adequate. And the Advanced tab, like so. Customize the ribbon bar. The ribbon bar is shown on the right here. We don't need the compare projects, we don't need the developer, but the others will have. So that's the main tabs, and then the quick access toolbar is shown here. So the selected things are on the right here, and the available things are on the left. It's filtered at the top, so you can see if we showed all commands, you'd see that there were a vast number of commands that you could choose from. But we can only display 20 odd, so we've got to be highly selective about what we want to be displayed. Now the easiest way to do this is to use the import export function. So we're going to import a file that gives us exactly what we need. What you're going to do is you're going to go to this website, eh.com.au, go to this page, software and downloads page, and then on that page go to this link and download that quick access toolbar file. You would then go to this button here and say I want to import a customization file. You'd then go to the location where you saved it and open it, and that would do the job and give you the correct list as I've got here already. So that's what we want to see. When that's been set up, so that's changed your template now, it's saved in your global template, so that when we open a file, when we go File, New, it will contain the necessary things. So we'll open a blank project and give the start date as the nearest Monday, which can be the 25th of March 19, will be our project start date. We say OK to that. We then think about the nature of the project. So the project we're going to do is it's going to be building a car, simple little project. We're going to assume that we're a division of a motor manufacturer, say Mercedes, and we've been tasked with producing 50 sports cars. So they're going to be based on existing chassis, engines, electrics, all the rest of it. The only unique thing is going to be shape of the car, which we're going to have to design. So our task is to build 50 of them. So we can start off by putting the title of the project in. Build a car, but not just one. There's going to be 50 in this little run. And that's the title of our project. It's a good idea to double click on that, bring up the task information box and go to the notes tab, and then just put in the crucial information like the scope of the project is to build 50 sports cars. So they're going to be 4-litre cars, 2-seat, open top, all red, built on pretty much existing components, but with a unique shape and body. That's the scope of our project. Budget for the project is going to be 50 million. And our timeline is going to be 6 months from start date. So this kind of information can be put into the notes area, and then it's available for anybody to look at. You can simply hover over the note, the yellow note there, and it will tell you what's in the note. That's the total of our project. We now think about building the WBS structure. We're just going to have 4 WBS main components of our projects, sometimes called the deliverables. So we're going to design the thing. Then we're going to build it. Then we're going to test it. And then we're going to sell it. Let's just shorten that one a bit, like so. Now the way we structure things in Microsoft Project is everything gets entered in initially as a task, and then we use the indenting buttons to structure the project. So we've indented the 4 WBS to the right so that they're now subservient to the title of the project. We then think about what information do we want to have visible in columns here to help do the business of creating the project. So task name's good. The first 3 are fine. In fact, the 4th one's fine as well. Duration, we want to know the duration of each individual task. We don't need to know the start and finish dates at this point in time, when we're building. So I'm going to change by double clicking there, that particular one. And I'm going to make that one show me total slack. Total slack. Slack is the amount of slippage you can have on individual activities without affecting the end date. So it's something we need to monitor. Instead of finish, I'm going to have cost in there. I want to monitor the costs as we go on. So put a cost column in. We need a predecessor. That's the logic links between the activities. We need to monitor the resources. So I also want a column for fixed costs. And that's probably enough for the moment. Okay, so that's a good setup now for us to go ahead and build the project. So having got the title and the WBS in place, I would now put the activities in. So the way we do that is I want some under design, so I go to the activity under design and highlight it, and then say I want to insert. I can either right click and go insert, or I can use insert on the keyboard to go 1, 2, 3. So I've inserted 3 spaces for my activities. First activity is going to be the start milestone. Second activity, we're going to have generic activities, one called organize, and one called finalize, just to represent an activity. The start milestone is made into a milestone by changing its duration to 0. You'll see when we come off it, a black diamond will appear in the Gantt chart. The milestones have 0 duration. Our two activities are going to be 25 days long each. And we're going to put those under the other WBS as well. So, to do that quickly, what I would do is I would highlight them using Control or Shift, then right click on them and say I want to copy them. And then I want them under Build, so I'd go to the line underneath Build and paste into there. Paste them under Build, and I want them under Test, so I go to Cell, right click and paste them under Cell, and then I go underneath Cell and right click and paste the two under there. I also want a finish milestone, which I change to 0 duration, like so. And now I need to indent those tasks to the right. So I cherry pick them using Control, avoiding the WBS, and then I indent them to the right, like so. So now we have the WBS in place, we have the project title in place, and we have the activities or tasks as the furthest right in indentation. We now want to put the logic in. So when this activity finishes, what happens? This one starts, so you can go through this process. So we're going to just keep it nice and simple and link them all finish to start. So I once again cherry pick the individual activities, go to the quick access toolbar, find the link option, hit that, and because it affects dates, then we get an auto schedule and everything pushes off to the right. The scale's wrong at the moment, so to fix that I'd go and right click in the calendar area, hit the zoom button and say I want to see the entire project. Zoom me to the entire project and bang, it will show you that. So that's looking good. So we have our individual activities in place, we've got a finish date. In order to monitor this more closely, we highlight the finish milestone, double left click on it, bring up the task information box, go to the advanced tab and put in a deadline for the finish of the whole project. So the deadline is going to be, so we started in March on the 25th, so we go forward 6 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, September the 20, it'll probably be the 30th, no, yeah. September the 30th is our deadline. When we say OK to that, we will get a little green down pointing arrow in the Gantt chart to show us where our deadline is, and we can see we're going well beyond it at the moment. And we also see in the slack column, or float column, minus 64. That tells us exactly how far we're going over it. 64 days over must finish by date. So we've got to shorten our project by 64 days. That's why we monitor this slack column. So there's several ways of shortening the project. You could reduce the scope, you could try adding more resources, or you could try for overlaps. So we're going to try for overlaps in a minute. What I'm first going to do is put some resources in on the activities. We don't have any resources in the dictionary yet, at least I don't think we do. Let's check. Resources, resource sheet. No, none of them are. So we just need to create a few resources. So PM-1 project manager, but I'm going to have 4 project managers in order to do the work on our project. We'll give them initials, 4, and we'll give them a rate of $50 each. So that's our resources that we can now allocate to our project. So to get back to our project, we get into the task ribbon, find the Gantt chart, click on that, and we're back in there. You don't put resources on milestones, there's no work to do. So in the resource names column, go to the first activity, organize activity, and find all the resources there. Tick on the one we want, PM1. I could do that for all of them, but a quicker way would be to actually cherry pick the activities, including the first one where PM1 had been assigned, and then right-clicking and using a fill down option, which will fill down PM1 into all of those cells. So there's a shortcut. So we now have a resource, and notice the cost is now reflecting the 25-day activity. So 25 days multiplied by 8 hours a day multiplied by $50 an hour gives us $10,000 on each activity. We now need to shorten the project, and to do that we will do an overlap. So we design the cars, then we build them, then we test them, then we sell them. So everything's pretty logical. The only thing we could attempt to overlap would be the selling. Really, you could sell pretty much any time after you've designed it. So what we'll do is we'll start selling as soon as we've got a design finalized. So from the first activity in build, we will link from line 7 to line 13. So 13, you can see we've got a predecessor column, so we have to think in terms of predecessors. So we're going to say that our predecessor for 13 will be 7. So we go in here. We're going to have to break the link to 11. So we go into the task information box, find that one, and say, no, you can't be number 11. It's going to let me here. There we go. Get rid of 11 and put 7. And it's going to be not finish to start, but it's going to be start to start. Both going to start at the same time. So OK. And bingo, comes back and saves us a certain amount of time. Not quite enough, unfortunately, but nearly enough. So the other thing we're going to have to do is reduce scope. So take away some of the gold plating from our cars and reduce the time required on each task from 20 days to, from 25 days to 20 days. And then we can do the old reduction. Through fill down. So highlight all the activities, right click, fill down, will become 20. Affects the date so it auto schedules, and bingo, we're now within our must finish by date. Our slack is 0 on the critical activities. How do we know they're critical? Well, we can request that that we see the criticals, going to the format ribbon and finding the critical box there. Tick that. It shows us now in red which are the critical activities. So we are finishing on time, but we're not quite there yet because the finish milestone is now incorrectly placed. It should be after this this activity here, number 11. So we're going to have to make the finish milestone have a predecessor of 11. So we can do that by bringing up the task information box, going to the predecessor tab and adding in the predecessor of 11. Because it's going to a milestone, and this is a finish milestone, the relationship should be finish to finish. And then we see it auto schedule to the correct position now. So that's looking good. So our timeline's good, we're finishing in time. Our budget is good. We haven't actually allowed for the materials in the project, so we can put in a fixed cost for our materials alongside the first activity in build. So we can go to the fixed cost in build and say we need so much in terms of materials, so it's going to be 49,750,000, like so, and we see that reflected in the cost column, and we see from the total cost 49,814. We're still within our 50 million, so our budget is still good, our timeline is now good, and the only other thing is that resources. Are our resources good? Well, we've got some little indicators over here, red men, when we hover over one. This task has over-allocated resources. And you can pretty much see why, because project manager number 1 is working on certain tasks at the same time. Now, if you, it tells you there, right-click for options. So if you right-clicked, you've got a few options there at the top. Fix in Task Inspector or reschedule to an available date. So the Task Inspector option pretty much does this. It reschedules to an available date. So, ding, if we did that, you'd find that it pushes things out unacceptably, and even then it's not quite right, because it hasn't pushed him out far enough. It's done that one, but not that one. So ding, reschedule, ding. So it's not satisfactory. We end up with negative float. So we undo that using the undo button up here. We undo it twice, in fact. Get back to where we were. And we would have to manually fix this by saying, PM1, you can't do that job. I'll put somebody else on. And the same for that one. Take PM1 off, put somebody else on. And that way we fixed our resources. So we're looking good. Our 3 areas for optimization are correct. We just need to save. I'll just save it quickly there. So everything's optimized as far as we can do it. So at this point in time, we would baseline the project. So to baseline the project, here we go to the Projects ribbon. Get the drop down there, and you'll see under the Schedule group there is a Set Baseline option. We click on that, and you get Set Baseline. Boom. Entire project, yes. You'll notice there are 11 slots for baselines, so you can take up to 11 baselines. After that, you'd have to clear some and then reuse the numbers for later baselines. So we've taken up the first slot. We then have to make it visible. So in order to do that, you have to go to the Format ribbon and then go to Baseline in the Bar Styles group. Get all 11. And we need to tick on the one that we want, which is the first one. Tick, and you will then see the baseline appear in the Gantt chart. If you don't like certain aspects of the Gantt chart, the way they appear, you can alter things by going into Bar Styles. So right-click in the Gantt chart, go Bar Styles. Let's say, for instance, I don't like the summary bar the way it looks at the moment. It looks a bit weird. So I would always thicken that up a bit. And shape, I would get away from these little vertical things and go for a triangle at the end of each. And then I would change the colour. It's from grey to black. So, looks, to my mind, to my eye, that looks better. So happy with that. So the project's now ready to be used in anger in your project. So that's how you build a project in Microsoft Project.